All right, I just wanted to take a second to welcome the newest member to the Linux A team, and that would be Ron from Canada. Hello, Ron, and welcome aboard. Ron is somebody new here on the show, so it's always fun, and it's always an honor to have somebody new face to face, especially during these difficult pandemic times. So, Ron, welcome aboard. So we had a discussion last night, about 30 minutes or so, informative and hopefully entertaining discussion. The topic is, should Ubuntu dump the Gnome desktop? If you are new to all this and have no idea what this is about, definitely take a look at Ubuntu. Just go to ubuntu.com. Ubuntu is perhaps the most well-known, the most popular Linux-based system in the world. And if you are new to this, absolutely take a look at the Ubuntu operating system. All right, so I hope you enjoy this discussion. I want to thank everybody out there who make these live shows possible. The shows are sponsored by the community, people like yourself. So if you would like to sponsor a show or support what we do, take a couple of looks below down in the show notes for Patreon and PayPal links. Thanks again, and have fun listening to Should Ubuntu Dump the Gnome Desktop? Take care. Well, welcome back to another Linux 18. We haven't done one of these in quite a while, so tonight's topic will be, it's a topic I picked, by the way, should Ubuntu dump the Gnome desktop? I have my returning champions, Ben, Mark, and Dan. So we're going to talk about it. I no longer use standard Ubuntu, period. I don't have it. I had it on my backup machine next to my big 50-inch TV here, which I'm watching Weather Channel. I like watching sun and clouds on a 50-inch, don't you? But no. so we're using Zoom. The virtual background in Windows works pretty good, as you see behind me. It does not work in Linux, but be it as it may, this is going to have to be for tonight. So, all right, I deleted Ubuntu off my backup machine, and I'll explain why. This is something that we've talked about before, but I was using Ubuntu last month, and it's fine. You know, Ubuntu on a big screen, like a 50-inch, looks great. The Gnome desktop looks colorful, it's nice, it's stable, you know, it looks great. But you've heard about that term, the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm sure you know the term. I could never drag and drop files and folders into other folders. It's a basic function that's been around since caveman times, right? You know, drag and dropping files, right? I can't do it in Ubuntu. I thought it was a bug. It turns out it's actually a feature. And I'm like, no. Why can't you do something that's so basic, that's been around for eons, it seems, but for some reason, the developers for Ubuntu, which is still a great stable system, took away that basic function. And I kept forgetting that you can't do it. So I would try to do it, and my system would freeze. I'd have to reboot. And sure enough, a week later, I forgot I can't. And it would freeze. I would have to reboot. And it got so annoying that I said, but then it dawned on me, Ubuntu has been, the Gnome desktop, Gnome 3, has been around 10 years. Now, for something to be around 10 years, that's still a work in progress, and they still can't get it right. My definition of a fully easy functioning operating system, to me, there's something wrong. There's a way of thinking that's just not all there with GNOME 3. Why would you take away a function as simple as that? You know, and it seems like, okay, now I got to search for another extension on top of another extension that may break the system. It may not work. You update the system, now the extensions don't work, and it's kind of like buying a car. Oh, wait, I have to buy an engine to make it work. I have to add a transmission, some brakes.
Just buy a different. Linux is built.
Just buy a different car, or use a different operating system. In my case, any system except Ubuntu. I mean, it's not asking too much to have in place basic, fundamental features that should be inherently that should be in the system, like dragging and dropping files and folders, adding something to the top panel, removing the top panel, changing the size. I mean, it's just basic systems. Basic.
Weren't you using Ubuntu Mate for the longest time?
That's on my main system here. System here still.
Yeah,
okay.
Because you always bragged about how good it was.
No, I'm talking standard Ubuntu, not Ubuntu Mate. Okay, I was talking about my backup system. Mark, can you hear? I had to add you again.
I'm good. I was just getting my logo to pop up kind of seamlessly. Carry on.
Okay.
We're good. We got
All right, good. So, no, Ubuntu Mate is still my Linux gold standard, a 10 out of 10. I don't have to fix anything or search for extensions. I don't have to add a transmission to the car. Okay. I don't have to add an engine. I don't have to add wipers to make it work. With Ubuntu, what I had, I'm like, oh, I need this extension. That what the best extension is? Ubuntu Mate operating system. That's the best extension. So GNOME 3 has been around 10 years. But when I could not drag and drop the simple function, am I asking too much? Drag and drop folders into another folder?
I can do that with my distro, no sweat.
I'm like, what are they thinking? You're making it harder and not easier. So at that point I thought, no, I still like Ubuntu. I will recommend anything that's stable. If there is a new user to Linux and wanted to try Ubuntu, absolutely you should. And maybe those lack of features or lack of functionality you may not care about if you're coming from a Windows environment. But something that I do all the time, like especially me, like I record these videos, now I combine them into a folder, I need to have that functionality with the mouse. It's just a basic function like breathing. It's like removing the oxygen out of the system. I can't breathe. And it's like, after 10 years, no, this has to end. So I deleted Ubuntu. And it's not Ubuntu, it's the desktop they've chosen. It's simply not fully functionable like I would like it to be running Ubuntu Mate. This may sound crazy, but GNOME 3 should be more like Windows 10. Make it easier, make it fully functionable, if that makes any sense. Dragging and dropping files, move the panel any way I want to. Keep it simple, keep the KISS method. Yeah. And, with all that's been going on, the pandemic and this and that, it's like, I don't need an extra headache. I don't think it's just me, but Mark, go ahead. Yeah.
It gets to a point where GNOME 3 has become so. They keep stripping away functionality, I guess, because they don't want to confuse the new user or they want it to be simple. But like you said, it's getting to a point where basic functionality is being stripped away to where it becomes not usable, and then you end up shooting yourself in the foot. I feel like they're trying to make it too user friendly, to where like a 3-year-old or 5-year-old child could use it. That's all good and well, but I mean, it gets to a point where it's so dumbed down that it's not going to work for you if you have any usage case outside of Facebook and email and what have you on the web.
Yeah.
It's.
I think they screwed it up quite a bit trying to get it to work with touchscreen technology.
Yeah.
And that could be the case.
Maybe it's more suited for tablets versus a desktop. Maybe there should be 2 versions of Ubuntu, 2 separate versions. That might be the case. It's certainly possible. It's just, last month I just got frustrated. And it's like, I don't need an extra headache. I need something smooth, basic functions. I need oxygen. Just like I need oxygen to breathe, I need oxygen in an OS.
Yeah.
And not being able to drag and why would you want to take that feature away? What is the reasoning?
I think that has something to do with the file manager. You're using Nautilus, and they stripped it out, and it's always been stripped. Kaja is what they got for Mate, and it's pretty well loaded, and so is Nemo. They're almost identical.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaja is a pretty good file. That's a pretty solid file manager from where I've used it.
Sure. I mean, the Dolphin file manager, great. All the functions,
Yeah.
nothing stripped out of it. Maybe it's too much for new users.
Yeah. Dolphin might get a little busy for a new user.
Yeah.
I think Dolphin's a little out of the way.
Yeah, maybe it's too much. But getting back to GNOME, it's I got frustrated. Ben, what do you think?
I have had nothing but pure as heck frustrations with GNOME 3. I love GNOME 2. I love Mate. I love XFCE. Give me any desktop, any GUI, period, other than GNOME 3. I just don't like all those extensions. I don't like how little you can theme it. It's just like, it's just...
Well, one thing that's confusing, like if you're using standard Ubuntu, the top right you have those multiple icons, right?
Right.
If you click the sound icon, it goes to just once. It doesn't go to the sound settings automatically. It just goes to settings, right? Unless something has changed.
Oh my god.
It's like that doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, the whole darn desktop makes no flipping sense. Like, a freaking 2-year-old could have written it and it would have made more sense.
You're right. Theming is hard. You have to install extensions. You have to install GNOME tweaks. Like I said, it's kind of like
You
buying a
have to
car.
do-
Oh wait, I have to buy the engine to me. I have to buy the
It's
trans.
like
It's too
the
much.
GUI is like, it's like you always say, the GUI is like running freaking Gen 2 on top of Ubuntu.
It just feels like
Stupid.
it's never complete. And after,
Yeah.
I think this year is the 10. In 10 years of development,
It's-
at some
Yeah,
point
they-
you got to say timeout.
The screwiest thing about it that when it comes to extensions is you gotta install a web extension to get your extensions into your browser.
I know.
Yeah.
That is kind of, they could have made an app or something like that where you could actually, source your extensions from a repository.
I think the solution here is to have two separate versions. Have one
Yeah.
for the desktop, like the old GNOME 2 or Mate, and one for tablets. I think that will solve it. There will be no confusion because, one is strictly for the tablet with these stripped down functions, and one for the desktop with full. That's why I think that the Mate desktop is so popular. Nothing has been
Because
stripped.
It's pure GNOME 2, just updated to work with newer applications. And it works.
Mhm.
GNOME 3, no.
It works,
I mean,
but
it
it
sucks.
it doesn't suck, but it in some ways, I'm going through the workflow and it's like, well, why did they do that? Why this? There are too many whys. What are they thinking? What?
Yeah, it's like-
It doesn't make any sense, right?
I think a lot of people get frustrated with GNOME. It goes back to what Dan said, and I know Tom has mentioned this several times on Switch to Linux with GNOME 3 specifically. It's really designed to be touch-centric, like you said. I agree with Toss completely that there should be two separate versions, one for mobile and one for desktop.
I have to.
It is
agree with
very. It is kind of a mix of a keyboard-driven OS and also a what was I thinking? Keyboard and mouse-driven OS. It's kind of both. It lends itself well
Yeah.
to shortcuts
Yeah.
on the keyboard,
Yeah.
and I feel
Yeah.
like it's more keyboard-driven than people are really ready for.
I agree.
Well, look how great standard
I
Ubuntu
understand.
was. Ubuntu got started in 2004. Then they switched to Unity, which I thought was fine. It was different, but it wasn't that outrageous. It wasn't that out there. Then, just as they perfected Unity in 2016, had it on two machines, they switched to GNOME. Like, oh god, here we go again. Now I understand why they did it.
Because they didn't
I
have
thought
much
Unity
else to
was
work
nice.
In fact, I had a talk with Alan Pope last year before, one of the developers, and when he explained it, it made perfect sense. But make it easier. Don't make it harder. Don't take away the windshield wipers out of the car. I need that.
Yeah.
Don't take away the window locks. Don't take away the radio. Don't take away those functions.
Yeah, I mean they've totally taken Ubuntu from what it used to be a cool noob-friendly system and totally blown it out of proportion.
I got a feeling I'm not the only one feeling this, and I think maybe there might be a lot of people who are too scared to speak out. I got a funny feeling there's a lot of people out there. Look, I'm just calling it as I see it. Okay? Ubuntu, I would still recommend it. If you are new to Linux, absolutely check it out. Look, maybe as a content creator, I need other functionality. Maybe it's different for me versus, say, as someone who's a content consumer, like our friend Ron here. Hi, Ron. You know.
Hey, guys.
So,
Hey,
welcome,
hi.
Ron, from Canada.
Canada, Southwest Ontario.
I got cousins
How
who
you
live in
doing,
Montreal.
Ron?
Yeah,
I'm
nice.
doing great. Where are you guys at?
I'm in Ohio.
Kentucky.
Michigan.
Michigan.
North Carolina.
So we're all
North
cold.
Carolina.
We're all,
We're all here.
yeah, so I was drinking wine. It's almost done, but I still have my little glass here of wine. I don't want to overdo it, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not drinking the whole thing. It's just a prop.
Water.
I got water. But we were talking, Ron, do you use Linux?
So, November 2016
Yeah.
is when I started looking at it
Yeah.
because I had a really horrible situation happen to me with Windows 10 rebooting on me.
Ah.
Right in the middle of a stock trade. It was pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I started to take a look at the Ubuntu, I guess, 2016 edition, 1604.
Okay.
I just started down that path, and 42 different distros later, I,
That's the path.
I finally landed. Yeah, it was interesting. 42. I landed on Linux Mint.
Yeah.
Never looked back.
Funny you say Linux Mint because on my backup machine, which I had Ubuntu with Gnome, I replaced it with Linux Mint. You know.
Mint is my daily driver. It's the old Cadillac, the feel good. I know where everything's
There
at.
are no surprises.
Comfortable, yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I was telling these guys when you came in late, Ron, that I dumped Ubuntu with Gnome, or like Ubuntu should dump Gnome, because I kept wanting to drag and drop files and folders into other folders, like my videos, my podcasts, and to, combine them in folders. And I couldn't do it. It would freeze my Ubuntu system. I thought it was a bug. It turns out it's a feature. I'm like, what the hell, man?
I tried to. I think that I'm a pretty reasonable person.
I think I
was
think
so
Gnome comes
unreasonable
by.
when it came to like Windows 8 had the tiling thing, I believe,
Yeah.
or Vista, whatever it was. I gave it a shot for about 20 minutes. Could not get productive.
Yeah.
Walked away from it.
Okay.
And same thing applied to Gnome when I tried Ubuntu proper.
Yeah.
It was just like walking into a glass wall.
Yeah.
You know where you want to be.
Couldn't
but
do anything.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. You have to
It's-
stop and think about
Yeah.
where it is
Yeah.
that you're at
Yeah.
instead of just getting on with whatever you're getting on with. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
really don't see what is so shameful about, embracing that tried and true Windows paradigm. Taskbar, bring up my menu, get on with getting on. There's no shame in it.
I was saying that Ubuntu should be more like Windows 10. It's not with the problems with the updates and the rebooting. Not like that, guy. I'm not saying to make it like a headache, but in functionality with the panel, dragging and dropping files. KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Like I said, look, Ubuntu on a 50-inch TV here looks great. Colorful and great. But I kept wanting to drag and drop folders, and it kept freezing my system. And when I realized that without an extension, that's a feature, I'm like, Christ, I thought I dragged too much. I mean,
One thing that really stands out with Mint for me that makes me want to run them over any proper Ubuntu or Ubuntu flavor, so to speak, is they are more geared toward privacy and security, and they're not afraid to take a stand on things like snaps or.
Oh yeah.
I
You can
understand.
agree to disagree, and that's fine, but it's like they care. They seem to specifically go out of their way to harden the OS a little more without overdoing it. It's still
Yeah.
very user friendly, but it's more secure from the ground up. The way they code it, I feel like it's more secure overall.
Yeah, I think Clem came off a little bit righteous to some people for Mint with
Yeah.
his, line in the sand type of thing, thou shalt not pass. And
Mm.
but I think it was just some people misinterpreting what he was saying, which is don't don't step past the speaker point where you're going to do something behind someone's back, the user's back, by slipping
Okay.
in that snap.
Okay.
Yeah,
I really, really stand with him on that.
I do.
I
as
could
well.
understand that. I could understand that, but I mean, whether you agree or disagree with that decision, it didn't really affect the functionality too much. And like, it wasn't like, oh my God, now I can't use the system. It's just one of those personal things, a personal decision. Even though I disagreed, I totally get it.
And
Um,
one can run a couple commands in the command line and delete the
Yeah. Yeah.
not the config file. But the thing is, I understand why people are still angry when you say that, and I understand why you're angry at me saying that. People tend to repel at the command line,
hmm
like they're scared to use it.
Well, sure, because
that's
now
the
because now the
mentality
person
we
thinks
have.
Linux, oh, that's for geeks. That ain't for me.
Yeah,
It's totally
and it
understandable.
really
yeah.
isn't that bad. It's cut and paste.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they have
yeah.
the lines of code there for you on the website.
Yeah.
It's really
Even
easy to
processing
do.
a sneaky
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the topic, should Ubuntu dump a GNOME? Either they dump it or have two separate OSs, one for us desktop users, one for tablets. Because right now, at least for people like myself who do this, I can't use it. Not even as a backup. It's just too frustrating. I hate to say that because it looks great, it's stable, and I will continue to recommend anything that's stable. I'm not going to recommend something unstable.
I think Ubuntu should embrace Cinnamon as their desktop of choice.
Well,
That's what I use.
That's easy.
I use the
That's
Linux-
easy. Yeah.
I use the Linux Mint Debian edition version,
Okay.
and they keep the Cinnamon and that more updated than Debian
Look,
does with the Cinnamon.
Simmons,
they offer.
Cinnamon, Mate, XFCE, and there are others. Those don't feel like it doesn't feel normal. No, they do feel normal. The workflow feels normal. It is like
Cinnamon feels like home to me.
yeah, Cinnamon's
Yes.
fine. I've used
just
it.
seems
So
like a
easy to
refined
use and
Windows
so
7.
logical.
They
Yeah,
have.
it does feel like Windows 7.
What
You're
does
right.
Mint offer now? Debian, Cinnamon, and Mate. Do they still do XFCE? I lost track.
Yes.
So they got four. Okay, all right. And those are four fine choices.
Absolutely.
You know.
I set up a lot of laptops, primarily older laptops. I get them from next to nothing, set them up with Linux. I just donated to, especially in these COVID times, lots of folks looking for stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've been doing a fair bit of this on my whenever I have free time, and I'm finding that the crowd that's post 75, they really love the XFC look and feel, especially when I trick it out some.
It's super easy to custom. And it's super fast. Yeah.
Very fast
Yeah.
and very intuitive, and you can
Yeah.
trim it
Yeah.
down
Sure.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Cinnamon,
Yeah.
I find Cinnamon to be just that perfect thing for media centers, workstations,
Yeah.
older laptops. older
Cinnamon
desktops.
plays really nice with multiple monitors.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I play with Cinnamon. It's fine. I still prefer the Mate desktop, but Cinnamon's fine.
I mean,
yeah.
if you got all your junk out or a game or something on a monitor you don't like, you go right to the taskbar and pull up, and it'll have a thing there's
Yeah.
move this thing to another monitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Click on it, poof, it's on another one.
I used to really like Mate. Really liked it for about maybe a month. But it was on the Ubuntu 16.04. I think it was a .3 release at that point, a number of years back. And that panel kept crashing.
Well, 1604 was Ubuntu with Unity desktop.
Yeah, but they had the Mate version, I guess. What was that one called?
Okay. I see what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, they had Ubuntu.
Yeah. Yes. Ubuntu Mate came in existence 2015, I think, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Um,
And
actually, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a difficult time with it, so I left that behind, and I tried the Ubuntu thing. Their key binding sucked. I mean, they didn't have
Ah.
decent amount of key binding, but that's the one I fell in love with, and I am a XFC fanboy
Well,
forever.
I sometimes I refer to Ubuntu Mate as the romantic OS. I did an interview with the lead developer Martin Wimpress, and I said, "How did this come about?" I kind of knew. He says, "Well, my wife was asking me to create something simple, and he created Ubuntu Mate." I said, "Oh, you did it for your wife. Oh, isn't that sweet?" So I call Ubuntu Mate the romantic OS because Martin did it for his wife. Now it's for all of us. See, it's the OS of love. Why not? But and it's a joy to use it. I love using it because again, it's simple. Now, I'm using Windows 10 tonight because Zoom with the virtual background doesn't work in Linux. Boo! But in Windows 10 it works fine. So that's why I'm using
I
this.
had a weird thing with that. I'm right now on an older T520 that goes back to late 2011. But
Okay.
I tricked it out some with a quad-core CPU and cranked up the RAM.
Okay.
So it's holding up quite nicely.
Okay.
However, Zoom with a virtual background, not going to happen.
Okay.
If I use it on my T470,
Yeah.
Zoom with a virtual background, okay.
Yeah, you need a computer with the right graphics or graphics capability card to make it work. And Zoom does say if you're using a virtual background, it'll use more processor and all that. But you know what? It's not too bad. There's a little bit of motion blur, but it's not too bad. If I say still, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, and it works great in Skype too, by the way.
Yeah. I tried it with a Kiss poster in the background, but that didn't fly.
Kiss. All right, let's go to wrap this up. I got 4 minutes remaining for Zoom. I don't know why they got the stupid time limit in the pandemic. Any final thoughts, Ron, on Ubuntu with GNOME?
They really need to ditch it, and even though it may sound obscene, to really play with the other guys downstream, like the Mint folks, find a way to bridge their gulf out, whatever it may be, and make that community edition, which is some young kid doing it, I think, Ubuntu Cinnamon.
Okay.
Yes, I know who he is.
Okay.
Sorry?
Yeah. Okay.
Those editions, they call them respins. They're not
Respins.
official.
Yeah. Right.
Because
He has to maintain that for 3 years, I think, before it can even qualify to be official, if I'm right.
Okay.
because I think Mate will be perceived like a step backward, and from the look and feel.
It needs a
by
facelift.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, but that can be customized. I mean, you guys know it can
Yeah.
be I mean, for the default look,
absolutely.
stable to me is very sexy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just gonna say it's very nice. And there's no surprises, and if it looks bland, change it.
Sexy and romantic. I see where you're heading.
Yeah, just look. Valentine's Day is coming up, So no, but if it looks bland like 10 years ago, man, well, it's Linux custom. It's not that big of a deal. So
Exactly.
that shouldn't even be a factor.
But you know what? If you lined up, say, 10 Windows 10 rabid users who one day had a
Yeah.
really big problem,
Yeah.
they're all invited, hors d'oeuvres and wine, and
I understand.
presented with
Yeah.
identical machines, all of them with a different desktop.
Yeah.
Mate, XFC,
Yeah.
GNOME, etc. Just
Yeah.
line them all up and let's see what they gravitate towards.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
I would wager that Cinnamon would play a very,
Very good.
maximum positive role.
All right.
So that's
Mark,
my-
final thoughts. We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, I would just say keep GNOME with Ubuntu and just listen to your user base and listen to videos like this and user concerns. Add a little more functionality to it out of the gate. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of GNOME 3 fanboys out there that just adore it. There are distributions like Pop! OS that do it right. Take some cues from the guys over at Pop! OS and try to make it as much like that as possible because it's a working recipe.
Okay.
No need to invent the wheel. You know, take your advice from your users. Really listen to your users above all else, and make
Yeah.
it work for them. But keep it.
Yep. Okay. Dan, 30 seconds, real quick. Anything else?
I'm sorry.
GNOME, I really don't care for it that
Okay.
much. When I was using it, I ripped out the Nautilus file manager for reasons that you brought
Okay.
up and replaced it with Nemo.
All right. I got a minute left, so let's do this. Let's conclude this Linux 18. I'm going to stop the recorder. We'll continue. If you guys want to talk, I'll just send you guys another link. You want to do that? You want to keep on talking for a little bit more? All right. So for those of you who watch this sometime the weekend after I do the editing, thank you for watching this lively discussion. If you have another opinion, please let us know. If I missed anything, please let me know.
Leave a comment
I'm
below.
a Windows user, but I'm not that slow, okay? And leave a comment below. All right. Thank
Yep.
you for watching this edition of the Linux 18. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.